So one of the most important aspects of writing is thinking about audience. As you sit down to write, and this is after you've done a free write and you've explored ideas and you've really thought about what it is you want to say, you want to think about who your audience is. So, for instance, if you took a boat into the ocean without a license and you got caught by the nautical police, let's say the Coast Guard caught you, you would have to explain to various audiences about your actions, right? So how would you do that to your parents? How would you explain your actions to your parents? How might that change a bit when you explain it to the police? What about to your professor? Because your assignment is going to be late. How might you explain it to your professor? And what about to your friends? I would wager that you're going to have very different approach to explaining what took place out in that ocean with that boat. With your friends, you might joke around a little bit, right? With your parents, maybe you want to exculpate yourself and make sure that they don't think that that you did it on purpose, that it's really not your fault. With the police, maybe it'll be more factual and just tell them exactly what happened. And with your professor, well, you gotta. So writing your voice changes in each situation. The more distant the audience, the more formal the voice becomes. So in other words, for essays that are for most essays that you've written in academia for your academic classes are going to be fairly formal. And that can be a little bit tricky for students because I often get the question, how come I can't use you, the second person? Like, well, then you see that this is what happens when you, right? That's a more informal way of speaking, so that might be how you would speak to your friends, or if you were going to relay the same information to your friends, you would do it in this informal way, with an informal writer's voice. If you're going to relay it, however, to your professor in a class, in a more formal setting, then you are going to want to change that voice, make it a bit more formal and distant, and you're not going to use that second person, as well as some other more casual kind of language. Okay, so for writing to be effective, there is a process. And I know you're all familiar with this process. You've all gone through it at some point in your academic lives. But I want to really drill down into this process for the purposes of this class. First of all, it's going to entail multiple false starts. So there's never going to be a time where it's so rare, even for the most expert writers, even for people who make, in fact, I would even say, especially for people who make this a profession, they are going to start again and again and again, trying to get the right voice, trying to get the right sense of audience, trying to really wrap their words around what it is they want to say. And that's going to result in a substantial number of drafts, a few of which you will show your peers and professor. Many of those drafts are going to be done on your own in a free writing process, and then going into your triple entry journals, or in short answer responses to short answer responses to questions. You are going to be exploring these ideas again and again in multiple ways, and then even writing out drafts of your essay that at a certain point you will show to your professor for feedback as well as to your peers for feedback. But that should never be a first draft, right? What other people are seeing should never be your first draft. It should be when your draft is at a point where you feel like peer and professor feedback is going to actually help it. And that's not going to be your first draft, because with your first draft, you're probably going to likely know what changes need to be made. Okay, so what about finding a topic? I find it really effective to ask the work what you do not understand about it. Okay, so what do I not understand about this poem, or this story, or this essay? What do I not really understand here? And that is a good way of just sort of investigating, right? If you can pose it as a question that you're answering, that you're trying to sort of grab with you that you can refer to for shaping citations and for reminders about how to do research, as well as for understanding the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing. And we'll be going over some of that, of course, but it's really important to have that also with you so that you can just refer back to it again and again. I find that students often get confused about summarizing and paraphrasing, and those are two really important. It's important to make the distinction between those two when you are writing. Okay, so happy